Hi guys, Patrick here from Resumes for Dudes. This is my first LinkedIn broadcast. Just want to go through a few things about CVs, how important they are, and then I'm also going to discuss some items that everyone should be leaving off the resume. I review hundreds of resumes on a weekly basis. There's a lot of common errors that I see across the board, so hope this video is of some help. And I guess I'll just start by going through why a resume is so important, why people tend to overlook the importance a little bit. So nowadays with applications, a lot of times you're going to need a resume to apply for a role. With this, you're going to be up against a lot of competition. So having a good resume can really make the difference of getting to interview stage on your job application. Having a poor resume can mean you may get put in the no bundle, which will mean you won't get to interview, which essentially means you're not going to land the role. So having a strong resume that catches the eye of the reader, that stands out, that progresses to the hiring manager for review can really make a difference in landing your dream job, taking that step up in your career, and then ultimately just achieving your goals. So with CVs out there, as I said, I notice a lot of poor resumes. People don't spend the time and putting the effort into the resumes. It's one of those things you kind of put on the long finger, don't really think about it too much, and just willy-nilly throw it out for a position. So with me and my service, I try and change that by giving you a solid document that will give you the peace of mind, and also tick all the boxes nowadays, because there's a lot of key areas that people don't realize that is very important on a resume, like applicant tracking systems, what not to include, what to include, listing key achievements, etc., etc. So over the course of the next few weeks, I'm going to do live videos around all these areas, so I do hope to be of some benefit. But today I'm going to discuss certain items that you should leave off your resume. So I'll probably go through about 7 or 8 items, give you a reason why I think you should leave them off your resume, and feel free to ask any questions around these pieces. Again, this is general information. It can change depending on the position you're applying for. So yeah, don't take it as gospel. So just to begin with, date of birth and age identifiers in the resume. I definitely recommend not including your date of birth in your resume unless specifically asked to do so. Reason being, date of birth can lead to age bias on your job application. If a hiring manager turns around to a recruiter, I've seen this happen numerous times, and says, I want someone between the age of 30 and 35. If you're 37 and apply for the role, you're perfect for the job. There's a very strong chance that he won't progress you to the hiring manager to review. So better off to leave them guessing. Age identifier, what I mean by that is a lot of people have on their email address joeblogs80@gmail.com. That 80 is normally someone's year of birth, so I tend to leave that off email addresses so you don't give away your date of birth. Other areas I leave off a resume: objective. So having an objective in your resume is pretty much redundant nowadays. If you're an engineer applying for an engineering position, it's obvious what your objective is, and that's to land that role. So if you open a resume and see, hi, I'm Joe Blogs, I want to apply for and land this type of position, it's kind of obvious because you're after applying for that role, which means that's a job you want. So there's no need to include an objective anymore. I'd actually replace this with a personal statement. Other areas on a resume: photograph, personal picture. A lot of people are in discussion about this area. Should I? Shouldn't I? I have it on my LinkedIn. In terms of a resume in Australia, I never recommend including a photograph. One, because applicant tracking systems can't read or interpret a JPEG or an image file in the resume. 2, because we have this bias issue again, unconscious bias. You might look like Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt. Someone though might like the look of you for whatever reason. So always better to leave them guessing, and just remove that personal photograph from the resume. Other information I leave off the resume is items that aren't relevant to the position you're going for. So if you're going for a position in retail sales and you volunteered working in an area totally outside of this before, just don't mention it on the resume. If it's not going to add any value to your application, leave it off. It'll just make the resume too long as well. Other areas on a resume people feel they should include: interests and hobbies. Again, I never list this down unless it's going to benefit you in your application. So for example, if you enjoy cycling, walking your dog, reading Game of Thrones, that's great, but I wouldn't list it down your resume, because is that going to land you a job? Does a hiring manager really care if you like these things? Probably not. So I'd leave that off. Use the space on your resume for better information like achievements and in your role duties. Other items on the resume then as well, having an unprofessional email address. So if I get a resume and I'm reviewing it for a white collar position and the email address is beerking92@hotmail.com, again, understandable that people have email addresses for a long time, but you always want to put your best foot forward on an application. So having these email addresses that might sound a little bit crazy, better off having a professional email address in your resume. Right, so there are some key areas that I come across quite often in terms of CVs. I've been talking now for nearly 6 minutes, so I'll probably leave it at that. I don't want to bore anyone too much. Anyone has any questions around these areas, feel free, drop a comment. If you need a resume health check, also I offer that service free of charge for a health check, so feel free to email me and I'll come back to you within 24 hours with that health check. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Another video coming up next week. Thanks very much for your time. Bye-bye.